Welcome everyone here tonight to Mr. Porter Central Schools. We offer this opportunity to have a town hall dialogue, conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion at Mr. Porter. My name is Paul Seri, the superintendent here at Mr. Porter, and I'm very happy that we can come together tonight to have this conversation. These conversations are difficult. They are so very important. Before I begin some remarks, I turn over to our guest. I do want to introduce a few folks here up front. We're going to hear from Tamara Larson, our principal, Alicia Praxis, our program coordinator at the elementary schools. Ellen Ingram is our assistant principal at the middle school. Andy Howard is our middle school principal. Brad Wolves, our high school principal. Julie Bearden, this is our guest speaker tonight. Well, introducing. This is Seike Dege Ante Rivera. Oh, great. Close. Next to her is Dr. Heather Lyon, our curriculum instruction technology. Next to Heather is Dr. Lucia Escuela. He is our interim assistant superintendent for administrative services. And then I've got my board here as well, the school board. I've got April Sachs, board member. President Daniel Mullen. She was Julie Down. I couldn't see Julie stuck down. Julie Down is actually next to the she's our vice president. Then Daniel, then April Sachs. Then we have our professor, board member, Jennifer Clement, and we have Charlie Bush. Kevin on my friends there. I did want to welcome everyone tonight. Welcome, sure. Conversations about race, gender equity, disability, just our unique humanness. They feel uncomfortable. But having these discussions can make the community culture stronger. Stanford University recently published a study of 727 participants. The study just started published this last fall. And participants were both African American and white participants. The research sought to examine how people approach talking about race-related experiences with people in different racial backgrounds. Researchers found that groups view conversations about race as beneficial. They believe they can lead to a better understanding, learning, and closeness. But accompanying these positive expectations is a fear that these conversations could go bad. People in a close community relationship, like a school community, do not acknowledge, try to understand the race-related aspects of interactions with each other. They may fail to connect with and support each other in important ways. By surfacing these risks and opportunities, the conversations can open up pathways for improving conversations between and across race. Among white participants, some said they thought that they lacked common ground in which to have these kinds of discussions. Others were just simply scared that they would say the wrong thing, come across as racist. African American participants also saw possible pitfalls. They said that they were more hesitant to talk about their race-related experiences with white participants than they were with their friends of color. They're worried that white participants might dismiss their lived experience, not understand them, see them through the lens of stereotype, even if that would be inadvertent. At the same time, the researchers found that African American participants said that they wanted white members of the community to understand their lived experiences as persons of color. They hoped that by having these discussions, white community members could become more anti-racist, not just non-racist. They felt it important to share their personal race-related experiences. The research findings describe the complex tension that arises from these discussions as a threatening opportunity or a stereotype threat, which is described as the fear a person can have of being viewed by a negative stereotype about a social group to which they belong. People need to better understand the complex feelings that can charge interactions in diverse spaces, whether it's between teachers and students, students to students, or our communities of our schools, particularly when forming relationships with people from different backgrounds. The research states it is really about exposing the barriers to people being able to meaningfully connect and taking a step toward finding solutions that people of color feel supported and able to express themselves in these places. Under the right circumstances, positive content of that content between different groups can lead to less prejudice and more positive outcomes. Here at Lewiston Porter, we need to step forward and not just explore these interactions at our schools and in our community, but the content of the interactions as well. The community can let their guard down and come together. They can begin to talk about and share their experiences openly and authentically. These conversations can be awkward at first, but if you remember that the reason it's awkward is because you care about each other. And you take time to learn about each other's lived experiences and stay with it. And maybe come out a little wiser, a little more understood, a little more closer. On March 14th, 2022, our community, our school community, experienced trauma. The trauma was specifically directed at our middle school. We know that some significant threats were made toward our school and toward some students at our school. We also know in the context of those conversations on social media, there were significant racial slurs, significant derogatory remarks made toward individuals at our school about race, about their race. And we learned from Facebook posts on 716 Niagara Action that this is sometimes a lived experience of students of color here at Lewiston Porter. It's also a lived experience of students who are going through gender identity right now. It's also a lived experience of some of our students with disabilities. And it's also a lived experience of some of the students in our school who are just different. We need to come together as a community. And as difficult as this situation has been, certainly, it's an opportunity for us to come together as a community and to grow as individuals inside, within our hearts. And that is my hope, truly my hope, that we can grow within our hearts to start to recognize that while we are only 90% white as a school community, there are almost 200 students of color, 200 students of color across our campus. We have a number of students who are going through gender identity right now. We have a number of students who have disabilities. We need to make sure that we are recognizing, understanding their lived experiences on our campus. And those lived experiences are not always the best each day. And some days they may just smile and laugh off a little bit, or we're trying to fit in, we're trying to be friends with the other kids that maybe are saying some of these things. And the students who are saying those things may be thinking that it's funny or that their friends just like it, part of student college or whatever they bring to the table. But what we learned through 716 Niagara Action and the comments that were made, what I have learned through emails that I received is that it's hurtful. It's hurtful to those kids. And those kids, they may laugh, but they're crying inside. And I need to stop the crying. I will stop the crying. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've taught for many years in the city of Buffalo, where I was the only white person in the room. And those were the best days of my life. But I came to this community and fell in love with what we are able to have been able to accomplish. And so now we're confronted with an issue. We're confronted with a problem. And I could have easily dismissed it. We could have easily walked away. But that's not how we should approach this. I am blown away by the turnout. We've had multiple community nights on countless occasions, and we can barely get 20 people here. This is awesome. Some of you are here because you're supportive. Some of you are here because you're angry. Some of you are here because you've experienced these things. For those students and families in the audience that have experienced and had these lived experiences, I apologize to you from the bottom of my heart. And I want you to know that. And I want you to know how much I care about every student in the school district. And if you're not here because you want to help us get better, and if you're not here because you think that this is not the appropriate way to approach it, then you're going to probably need to leave. Because we are going to move forward together as a community, for sure. And it's not going to stop tonight with just a one and done. We are going to continue this conversation because this conversation, my friends, is important. The success of Lewiston, the success of Porter, the success of Niagara County is related to the success of Niagara Falls. And it's related to the success of the city of Buffalo. And everybody in this room better recognize that. And if we don't recognize it, we should all be doing our part to make those communities better. We're not trying to isolate ourselves from those communities. It would go a long way. So, this is something I'm very passionate about, as you can see. And it's something that I want to continue to grow as a human being as well. I want to be better myself. And I hope that for those of you in the audience, that you'll come along that journey with me, because I think we can do it together. With that, I'd like to introduce our, so let me talk a little bit about gender. First of all, for my introduction, we're going to welcome Dr. Seke, D.A. Barrett, who's going to talk about pursuing a welcoming school environment and positive school culture. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the strategies and things that we have in place already in our school system. We do have things in place in our school system. I know that oftentimes maybe people don't realize that we are working hard as an administrative team to try to make sure we are creating opportunity for students to come together and talk with teachers and talk with each other so that they can grow and learn about each other and start to care more deeply for each other. And then we're going to hear from you. And I've got 2 microphones in the back, and we're very happy to hear your comments, your concerns, and your questions. And again, as we go through that, I'll remind you again, but obviously, we would hope that we could do that in a respectful manner, for sure, because this is about a dialogue and a conversation. We can talk, we can be angry, but we can be respectful at the same time. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. This is Dr. Seke, D.A. Barrett. She comes to us. She's been a long-time resident here in Niagara County. She works over in Blackboard City Schools, my brother's keeper. She has been a professor at university. She's done extensive work in culturally responsive pedagogy, and she brings a very powerful message that I think is a wonderful opportunity to kick off this dialogue. So with that, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Barrett.
Thank you. Sawubona Newport. Let's begin by participating in a call and response. In African culture, this is a democratic way of engaging in any dialogue. My call will be punctuated by your response, shall we? So I will call by saying Newport Lancers, and I'd like you to respond with aiming higher. Are we ready? Yeah. Newport Lancers, aiming higher. Come on, you can do better than that. Newport Lancers, aiming higher. When we aim higher, we open our eyes, our hearts, and our minds to truly see humanity. I would like to offer gratitude to Superintendent Passeri for his proactivism, his vision, and his leadership. Equally expressing danke to Dr. Lyon for her dedicated pursuit. Recognizing and giving gracias to every single parent in this building tonight. Grandparents as well, aunties, uncles, students, educators, board members, administrators, community members, family, and friends for making this evening's connection a possibility. It is a great privilege to be here to facilitate such an essential conversation. I would like to acknowledge everyone and everything that has impacted, shaped, informed, and influenced my knowledge about this very work. Doing this work fuels my passion. I believe this is my life's purpose. What I just demonstrated is a concept of recognizing people called Sawubona. Sawubona is a Zulu greeting that has multiple meanings. It can mean I see myself, I see you, you exist, I see you in me, I see your humanity, I am here to be seen, I see us, I see the world. The response, Yebo Sawubona, also has multiple meanings. But for the purpose of this presentation, let's limit it to, I see you, seeing me. Shall we practice? So my call, I am going to say Sawubona, and you will respond with Yebo Sawubona. Sawubona!
Yebo Sawubona.
Sawubona!
Yebo Sawubona.
Newport Lancers, you can do better than that. Sawubona!
Yebo Sawubona.
This concept of Sawubona is equivalent to the Hindu greeting, Namaste, meaning I bow to you. Sometimes it could also mean I bow to the God in you. This greeting is also recognized that each individual is never alone but a community. Truly seeing a person is actually seeing them beyond the physical. It is shedding a spiritual light that brings light to both parties. It bestows one of the greatest honors upon another community. When I see you, Mr. Kasari, I recognize you as you acknowledge me. We bring each other into existence. Dr. Lyon, when we see each other, I become self-aware, investigating our interaction to see myself in you. Ms. Catalina, when we proximate each other, we create space for one another. Mr. Barrett, when we make eye contact, we explore all the possibilities in the world. Uncle Charles, when we make ear contact, we listen and communicate with one another. My friend Jess, we affirm and empower each other to be the best they have ever been. You see, I am not on an island, and neither are you. You're not on an island. I am not self-made. You are not self-made. We are collective-made. When you see me, I am represented by my family, my community, my tribe, my friends, my students, and my experiences. Because I am here to be seen, I offer you all Sawubona. And you respond? Since I am an educated at heart, my objectives for our time together will be threefold. Objective number one is to create a courageous space to unpack conflict surrounding race and racism. The second objective will be to understand the importance of self, social, and global awareness and how it creates a culture of belonging. And finally, to identify action steps in pursuing a welcoming environment and positive culture. Let's lead our conversation with this quote. Every child deserves a community, one that understands their growth and development process and supports their lifelong transformation progress. We must see the potential of every child. I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to Ms. Krogan for the racially motivated derogatory language leveled at your son. I know what it feels like to be a target of bigotry and being labeled as an other. No one deserves that kind of attack. I will, however, encourage you to choose redemption. Because you see, I believe that everyone and everything is redeemable. If you choose to sit in rage, it will not only consume you, but it will consume everything around you. Lean into your discomfort and be unapologetically you. We all know that racial prejudice and violence is learned and can be unlearned. Living in persistent residential, social, emotional, psychological, economical, and spiritual segregation is a danger to our democracy. Sometimes the truth is not friendly. It challenges us. It stretches us. At times, it even punches us. But dealing with the truth is the foundation of having courageous conversations. You see, truth is action. And this action is a process, not a solution. Taking action may require us to work methodically and not spring into decisions that may cause further harm. We often desire quick fixes to issues that have existed through millennia. But how we have these conversations absolutely matter. I want to also assure you that this is not a Newport-only issue. It is a national and global dual pandemic many communities are grappling with. That is COVID-19 and racial awakening. The question becomes, how do we effectively create racial pandemic protocols? We can unfortunately not expect the CDC to come up with these guidelines. We, however, do best when we ground our experiences in stories. What if I stated that there are no Black people in Africa? Let that sink in for a second. There are no Black people in Africa. As you can see, I was raised in a very diverse family. My stepmother is German, and my brothers are equally German. I'm not sure where my dad is in this picture and my oldest brother, but this was my daughter and I when we were visiting family a few years ago. I was born Ga-Adangbe. That is the tribe that I'm from. Prior to Germany. In Germany, I was a Ghanaian German. I did not become Black until I moved to the United States. My first encounter with having to differentiate between races was experienced after emigrating to the US from Germany. Unlike my husband, who was serving his country in Germany when we met, being in an environment as the only person of color does not mean the same because he grew up with a different pretext and context, namely enslavement, while I was conditioned in a colonial pretext and context. Maybe I did not fully understand racist actions towards me as I had to continually unpack and learn how to navigate the US concept of race. As I attempted to peel the onions back step by step, I began to understand that the nuanced root of the American system was extremely complex because of its complex history. So what is race and racism? Ibram Kendi, in his iconic book, How to Become an Anti-Racist, considers race to be a power construct of blended human differences that lives socially. This distinction based on melanin is demonstrated in manufactured structures of inequities. Racism, on the other hand, are inequities that exist within policies and practices in organizational structure. Racism ensures that most of us spend far too little time with those who differ from us. We barely know each other. We've been conditioned to believe that someone's human rights are outlaws, a zero sum as characterized by Heather McGhee. We operate in fear of those who are different, thereby causing the othering of people. When the fear festers over time, it causes us to create safety nets, sometimes in the form of violence. And these definitions are pretty consistent with the plethora of recent studies. But we must be careful in dealing with racial violence. Research suggests approaching the harm in a restorative fashion. Instead of reactionarily doling out consequences, we are to use the restorative approach to set people up for success. Restorative practice aligns with the principle of Sawubona because it not only brings the participants together to make eye contact, but it also motivates us to see, validate, and empathetically listen. It is a humanizing pedagogy that allows us to see who is in front of us, who is around us, and who's behind us. It requires us to value and affirm the cultural identities of students, looking at it from an asset perspective instead of a deficit lens. Research also posits that depending on the severity of the offense, exclusionary discipline, such as out-of-school suspensions, further alienates and isolates. It does not address the issues since the participants have not had an opportunity to provide us with their voice. So how do we move forward to address conflict that has harmed not only individuals, but the community at large? We are to bring the participants together to repair the harm, both relationally and emotionally, restore the relationships by connecting the community and those harmed, and rebuild by setting boundaries and taking the relationship to the next level. This is bringing all stakeholders to the table to give each participant a choice and a voice. The ultimate goal is to teach the participants to sympathize, validating the emotions of one another, empathize, feeling the emotions of one another, that is putting themselves in the other person's shoes, and offering compassion, doing something about the harm that has been caused. Now, how do we understand the importance of self, social and global awareness while pursuing a welcoming environment and positive culture? Our journey to wholeness must have 3 action steps I call IPC. The I stands for investigate, P stands for proximate, and C stands for cultivate. Let's unpack what each one looks like. Investigate. Know thyself. The journey begins with making eye contact with the self. Self-awareness, self-excavation, and self-discovery is the entryway into the whole person. In other words, placing a mirror in front of you for reflectivity. In the excavation process, we can capitalize on what is beneficial and change what is causing harm. We must reflect, challenge, and critically interrogate our own worldviews. When I am in tune with my own choices and behavior, I gain deeper insight into the behavior of my neighbor, becoming aware of how my actions are inflicting harm on another person. Born in Ghana, I lived a very storied life with my grandparents. This is where I was born, in Ghana, West Coast of Africa. And this is my grandmother, who I affectionately call Ma. If I want to be possessive, I would say, "Hey, Ma." She lived to be 106 years old. May her soul forever live in peace. Growing up in this survival environment, I was nevertheless nurtured in this incubator of physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual support. I grew up ecumenically with ethnically diverse Christians, Muslims, Hindu, Buddhist, Jews, and other cultures practicing traditional spirituality. This is why I'm super curious about people's stories. There was such innocence in the German school I later attended when I emigrated. We were unified in the common goal of studying the German language and immersing ourselves in the German culture. We were completely naive to racial differences. In fact, my skin color and linguistic aptitude was celebrated and welcomed by students and adults alike. This is where I began my journey into self-excavation. You see, without self-awareness, acknowledging my inner greatness or your inner greatness, there is no capacity for social awareness. As we peel back the onion layers and we roll back of this current incident, I wonder what the parties involved knew about themselves. So as these incidents and bumps in the road surfaces, we need to do the deep work of knowing thyself. This brings me to the second action step: proximate. Know thy neighbor. Pursue relationship into social awareness. When we dive deep into self-excavation by investigating who we are, we become curious of our neighbor. This process equips us with the relationship skills necessary for pursuing a culture of belonging. You see, culture is all around us. Newport has a unique culture. In fact, I recall our two boys participating in Newport wrestling when they were youth. Equally, my daughter danced in this community. So without proximity, we cannot develop relationship skills. And lacking relationship skills impacts our decision making. If we collectively choose equitable options and actions, we will forge broader coalitions, achieve new outcomes, and the more powerful our journey towards equity, inclusion, and humanity will be. It's not about perfection. It's about connection. We are not going to get comfortable until we are uncomfortable. The goal of a functioning democracy is not to make integral tensions go away, but rather, the goal of a healthy democracy is to provide means to manage those tensions so they don't undermine opportunity and justice for all. Approximate us. We are approachable, especially our men. African men and Black men and I go way back. My father is Ga Adambe. My husband is Black. I have two sons that are Ga Adambe Black young adults. The world may be mean, but people don't have to be. Not if they refuse, says Colson Whitehead. This winner-loser, zero-sum scarcity approach to rights and opportunities will absolutely cripple us. I implore you to seek opportunities to educate your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Check your personal and professional circles. Visit each other's places of worship. Invite one another to break bread together. Have game nights. Become culturally competent. Grow, develop, evolve. Better yet, you are all invited after this town hall meeting to my house for some deliciously yummy African food. This brings me to my final point. Cultivate. Know thy world. Being intentional about knowing the other and the world is a continuous follow-up. It's not a one and done. When we cultivate with the goal of deeply knowing, we become intentional to meet again and again and again and again. It's recursive. As we become socially aware and cultivate relationships, we will be careful to make decisions that do not harm the people we know. No one goes out of their way to hurt their brother, their sister, their friend. This is because these relationships have been cultivated and there is a shared value. When we consider these 3 steps, investigate, proximate, and cultivate, we will be moved to connect with ourselves, our neighbor, and the world through value instead of ideology. This is where change lives. This is where change can happen. Allow me to end with a narrative called Ke. Tell me, how are the children doing? Among the more than 1 billion people living in 54 countries, Africa is home to around 3,000 tribes. We are accomplished and fierce tribal people, and some of the major tribes are the Akans, who formed the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana, the Maasai warriors, natives of Kenya and Tanzania, and the powerful Zulu tribe originating from South Africa. It is customary within most of our cultures to greet family and community members and strangers alike during any encounter with this traditional salutation that involves a series of check-ins. Once both greeters have communicated their current emotional state, the subsequent inquiry is directed to focus on the well-being of the children, acknowledging the high value that each tribe places on their offspring's well-being. The traditional greeting exchange between tribal members is Ketukwameneke. Tell me, how are the children doing? Even tribal members without children of their own would respond traditionally with Jukwame Amesamina. All the children are well. This is the tribe's most important responsibility and reason for being. When the most vulnerable members of its tribes are well taken care of, all is well. I am curious to know if all of us in this community, those with biological children, adopted children, foster children, or no children at all, equally carry the weight of daily caring for all the children in our community. Whether in Lewiston or in Youngstown, and I'm not even sure if I'm pointing to the right direction. In Niagara County or in Western New York, in New York State or in the United States of America, in the Western Hemisphere or in the world. Can we affirmatively, without any hesitation, say, yes, all our children are well? All of these foundational actions, when centered, will be instrumental in increasing our sense of belonging, driving student achievement, fostering healthy and positive relationships, and giving everyone, and I repeat, everyone in the community a voice to be truly seen, to be truly known, and to be truly valued. I am here to be seen. Sawubona. And you respond? You got it. So I would like you to sit in a comfortable position with your back straight and your shoulder lifted, raised up to your ears. You are welcome to close your eyes or leave them half gazed. I'd like you to take a deep breath through your nose as you blow out your stomach like a balloon to invite the fresh air into your lungs. Now hold it for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. Pull up and tuck in that stomach to release all of the toxins. So we try it again. Inhale. Lower that stomach. Hold 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Lower that stomach. Hold 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. Now continue inhaling. Think about one action step you are willing to try immediately after this town hall. I want you to build a schema. Picture it as a dream. Visualize it. Secure it in your mind and in your heart. You may open your eyes. I would appreciate your recommendation for any organization, institution, or company that is looking for a dynamic speaker, a colorful one that is, facilitator or trainer on anything dealing with cultural awareness, competency, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Here are my social media handles to connect with me. Gracias.
It's a perfect message, the perfect tone, perfect words for what we're trying to accomplish here. From this difficult experience that we faced 3.5 weeks ago, we now have a new picture in our mind. Dr. Barrett helped us create that new picture. I'm so appreciative. Diversity is a fact. Diversity is a fact in this room right now. Every single person in this room is different. There is no question about it. Some of us have color, some of us have sex, some of us bring all sorts of different things to the table. Diversity is without question a fact. It's a great fact in this country. Equity is a choice. We can choose here at this school community to make sure that every single child feels welcome, feels safe, and feels ready to grow who they are. Inclusion is an action. We can do the things that we need to do to make sure that we create that opportunity for equity. We have strategies in place already here at Lewiston Board. Some parents are aware, maybe others are not. We want to continue to grow with those. But belonging together, being as one, being as a school community where everybody, every single human being is respected for their humanness, that belonging is the outcome if we try to continue to do this right. Without a doubt, we can do this. I want you to just hear briefly from some of the administrative team that I have and I work with on a daily basis. They are an outstanding team. And I want the community to know some of the things that we already do to help children grow. And I want you also to know that while these things are in place, we recognize that we still need to do more. And I also want to recognize that there are a significant number of teachers here tonight. significant number of teachers here and staff members. And I couldn't be more proud that you are here. Because being a teacher is probably one of the most beautiful things that you can do. In essence, we're all teachers. We're all teachers. But these teachers, working with this administrative team, ultimately working with the folks assembled here on this up front, our Board of Education, who represents all of you, those people there, you elect them to represent you. They hold me accountable. Do that quite well, I tell you. But we are working as a united team to make a difference. And we committed ourselves after this event that we were going to work as a united team to make a difference. Let me first introduce you to my elementary team. Unfortunately, Mrs. Rodriguez couldn't be here tonight, but I have Mrs. Larson and Mrs. Cresses. They're going to talk a little bit about some of our programming at the elementary. Please.
I first want to say thank you to Dr. Barrett, to the entire administrative team led by our superintendent, Mr. Casari, for opening up this opportunity to have a discussion. I've been a principal here for 17 years in the district. I'm very committed to this work. I'm passionate about it. And personally, I have 2 children who attend our middle school. And I am just so pleased to see this many people here to have this conversation tonight. At the PEC, we, and as a whole elementary team, we each year open up with a theme. This year, we decided we wanted to open up and celebrate diversity. And we made a commitment, our building leadership team made a commitment to truly teach themes of diversity through powerful literature. And we have been integrating these themes and celebrating and helping children at a very young level, at the age of 4, to begin to understand the concepts that Mr. Casari has spoken of: equity, inclusion, compassion. And we do this in several different ways that we'll briefly explain tonight, but we welcome calls if you want to learn more about our programming. We are integrating, well, first I'll say, when we opened up the school year, I shared this quote with the staff that I work with, many who are here tonight. And it's a quote by Jimmy Carter that really spoke to us as we opened the school year. And it is simply, we become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic. We are different people. We have different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, different dreams. And through some of our social emotional learning programming, we hope that every child is able to realize these dreams as they journey through Lancer Nation, but then beyond this community. So we are a leader in me school. What does that mean? Well, it means great things really do happen here. Our Leader in Me program, it's really not a program, it's a process. And our staff has gone through extensive training to teach Covey's 7 habits. Again, to promote the concepts of inclusion and compassion. These concepts have been very just woven into literature that we pick that our whole school reads together and then discusses through restorative circles, classroom meetings, and this is a school-wide approach to integrate these habits. So both the PEC and the IEC are community schools on this journey, and we teach the children these 7 habits and have common language. These habits support us to strengthen our school community and to really build a culture of leadership. We tell every child that we believe they can be a leader. When children believe they can be a leader, they are the children who learn how to use these habits to improve others. Every student has a leadership guide, K through grades 5. They each have their own, and every year they get a new one that builds and scaffolds these concepts at their stage of development. Within these leadership guides, our teachers are really facilitating important discussions on a regular basis. Our student leadership guide, for example, supports them in creating proactive language and a personal mission statement. They also learn how to think win-win, because leaders want to be happy and they want to make others happy. This is an abundance mentality that the children start to learn. And it supports their thinking win-win when dealing with conflict and going through proactive problem-solving strategies. Another habit they learned that I wanted to highlight tonight, it's perhaps one of the most important habits to this conversation. It's habit 5, and it's seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Our students learn at the age of 4, we begin teaching these concepts, not to prejudge others by the way they look. Our students practice this habit. They do this through interactive readers theater that are within these journals. They do it through important restorative circles. And they do learn to have voice and equity voice through this process. And then the final habit that I want to highlight tonight is that habit of synergy. Our students learn that they are more creative when they include others. They learn that they each have different gifts, different learning styles, and we talk to them about how they can create that beautiful mosaic when they truly synergize with others. I'm going to have Mrs. Cresses now talk a little bit about the theme at the IEC. Good evening, I'm Alicia Cresses. I'm the program coordinator for PEC and IEC. I have the great honor and privilege of making sure that all of your children are doing well. And I'm honored to be able to do that alongside Tamara and Tina and all of the people that are up here this evening. Here at the IEC, the theme that we are celebrating is great habits, make great leaders, and all of our students are leaders. The expectations that we have for our students is that they follow directions and they begin to own these as we are teaching that to them. Will communicate with respect, keeping their hands and feet to themselves, bringing their materials to class, including their homework, raising their hand and waiting to be called on. These are the expectations that we live by. We help to encourage and teach and model and support students who are having difficulties with those and providing them the modeling and experience to practice them. Some of the programs that we have that celebrate leadership skills in the Leader in Me program, and that's also encompass our expectations, are our Big Brother and Big Sister program, where we have high school students coming and working with students after school. Our Lancer Leaders program, Girls on the Run, Science Club, and Safety Patrol, which, by the way, I was a member of, not here at Newport, but when I was in fifth grade myself. So that's when it's really important. Art club, K club, chess club, our wonderful drama and musicals, the announcements, coding, math, and writing clubs are just other ways that we can bring in those leadership skills and include all of our students. We also have building-wide service learning projects that help and extend outside into the community, such as our pop tabs that we're collecting for the Ronald McDonald House, the socks drive that was collected for foster homes and children and adults, and our Masons Forever Sneaker Foundation that is collecting sneakers for the community to raise money for the junior football team. These are just some of the things that we have going on in our school, during our school, after our school, and part of the culture that we're building. Creating these great habits, making great leaders, and helping all of our students to see that they are leaders. And when you lead with your heart, that's the first step to including everyone and feeling as though you belong to something bigger than just yourself. We also wanted to let you know that Lewiston Porter has made a commitment to have the right staffing in each building to help support this process of Leader in Need. But we also have a program at the PEC that's called First Step. And this is where we teach explicit skills on for learning, how to step into someone else's shoes and really take on that perspective through empathy building. Also, we teach kids how to manage their emotions, and they have a tremendous opportunity to work in role-play scenarios on problem solving. We're able to do this because we have a full-time social worker in every single school building as of this school year. And that is a tremendous commitment that enables a very skilled, professional, licensed social worker to push into our classrooms. So they are working both proactively, but also when conflicts do occur, we work with students, the administration, and our social workers daily on how to resolve conflicts in a very positive way by taking turns talking, by telling the truth when we do that, by sharing your perspective on the conflict. And we, at my level, and at many of the levels, we are now using a talking piece to promote equity and voice and those listening skills, that eye contact. And so we're very proud of that commitment that we've made, and our social workers in each building really do just a phenomenal job with resolving those conflicts when we need to have those important conversations together, having those small circles, but also in the larger population, they are working very, very proactively in these skills. At the IEC, we are still teaching those skills as Mrs. Larson has explained. We're using a service called North Point Council Social Perspectives. It's a 10-week program that meets our New York State's mental health curriculum and helps students differentiate feelings, actions. It encourages the respect between peers, and it celebrates diversity. This program also has home workouts, which are newsletters, and it brings the families together, explaining what was covered in schools, and offers activities that can be completed together at home. So it doesn't just stop at the PEC, this continues to the IEC as well. One of our initiatives in Lewiston Porter this year is how we are responding to bullying and harassment in the elementary schools. And we have begun a journey with restorative practices. Restorative practices is a place that we are establishing restorative teams at each of our building levels. We meet with our provider Loretta Carlo, who helps guide us and educate us on restorative practices, how to hold them, how to maneuver through them with students in tricky situations. We're learning about equity of voice, safe spaces, how to tackle difficult conversations, helping students to feel included, our most vulnerable students, many who feel marginalized, and how we bring them together in a circle, and we are listening to their feelings without judgment, but hearing them, responding to them. We also include progression of discipline when there are situations that arise. And we're always providing those healing circles. These are the most powerful things that I've been involved in as an educator. I've been teaching now for 22 years. This is my 23rd year in my first in administration. The conversations that I'm having with students just this afternoon about how they were harmed, how it made them feel, what they need from the person who harmed them, and the person who caused the harm, how they are offering healing. It was marvelous. The conversation was astounding, and I've often forgotten that these were 5th grade young ladies that we were dealing with. It gives me great hope for brighter days. We know we have a lot of work to do, but this is a promising start that is affecting not only the students, but the teachers and the staff members as well. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce our secondary team. Before I do that, though, I am beyond proud of the fact that I see so many students in our audience tonight. That is so incredible. Here's what I say to you, Lancers. You are the ones ultimately that can make those decisions, and we know a lot of this. You see the kind of things that we're working on at the elementary level, and you're going to hear some of the things at the secondary level. But we know a lot of this happens on social media. It happens on social media. It happens outside of the school and it comes into the school. We somehow try to figure it out, try to help. Social media is a wonderful thing. It's connected the world. But it is, I have seen it cause great harm. And I've seen it cause great harm to young people. I've seen it destroy young people's lives, social media. So, to the young people in this room, I would ask that you be conscious of what you're doing and how you're approaching your use of it. And more importantly, to the parents in the room, we just can't express enough how important it is that you are understanding what your children are doing on social media and helping them navigate some of the most horrific, awful language and ideas that are available in an instance to them. We need your help. It's a partnership. Another great African proverb is it takes a village. It's funny how so many great proverbs come from Africa, isn't it? It does take a village. It takes all of us working together. It takes all of us working together to make the lives of these young people. And we can't do it without the parents in this room. So next up, I'd like to introduce you to our secondary team. This is Mr. Andrew Howard from the middle school principal and Mr. Brad Rose from the high school principal.
Good evening. Welcome to Lewis and Porter High School. Thank you much for being here. Superintendent Kasseri kind of stole my original thunder here. That's, for about the last week we've been talking about just who we are as members of the Lewis Porter family, how important it was that our students understood that they are part of that. They're part of this community. They're welcome at this event. I'm sitting up here for the first hour and I'm looking out across our audience and I see countless high school students. I can absolutely say, one, thank you, and two, how proud I am that one, I remember how strong we are as a Lewis Porter family. So thank you very much for being here. So, are we going to start? Or Okay.
This is always the dead spot where there's no technology, but I would just echo what Mr. Williams and Dr. Fair both said, and I will say that there have been numerous questions in regards to this idea of facility practices. I've received numerous phone calls from parents. There have been numerous scoffers who have said, "Why are you doing this? There needs to be more to this." But when you sit and you look at it yourself, and you know yourself, and you're able to look at people in the eye, and you're able to express how something has harmed you, how something can be resolved with the human nature that we have, I tell all the scoffers, I tell those who don't believe that it works. The idea is to change who you are so that you can see who others are. And if each of us do that, we are absolutely going to make the best school district even better, because that's what Lewis Porter does. So now that we have the view, I guess I'll start since we're talking. So I don't want to take your time because I think that you can read and it's in the handout, but I would just like to highlight this. Please understand that there are so many more things that are up that we are doing that you may not see up here. And if you have any further questions, you can please contact us at the middle school and we'd be happy to work those through with you. But the two things I want to point out are the first one that's on the board, and it's our necessary emotional support time. When we came up with the name, Nest, you think about young fledgling birds that are ready to fly out, and you need that time to be able to say, this is your home spot. So each of our students participates in a 20-minute every day nest time. We do our best to give a prompt of something to think about, something that they can focus on, some way that they can create that open communication and relationship with the people around them, in their classroom, with their teacher, something that they can hold on to. That is super important. Because as you heard tonight, it's about us working together as human beings and knowing that everything that you see on my surface, there may be about 15 other things underneath that you don't know about. And recognizing that each of us is in that spot. The other thing I want to talk about is our collaboration with the Mental Health Association and North Point Council. We thank them enough for the process that they have gone through, not only for this situation, but also prior to this. We've had them in numerous times throughout our health classes, talking with our students in regards to social media and open houses prior to COVID. Also offering, if you haven't seen it yet, online tapings of the event that we recently had that was set up prior to us being here this evening. Those two things are super important, and most importantly, that's not up there. I cannot tell you how proud and how utterly thrilled that I feel as a principal to have the team of support that I have with our counselors and our people who are finding those ways to make connections with kids. And that's how we make a difference. That's how we make a difference in what we do as human beings to each other and as a group community.
Yeah, I think that kind of builds on climate and culture, and that's why it's so important at the secondary level. It is about the Newport family. I'm sure the students are probably shaking their heads to hear that from me on an ongoing and regular basis. That needs to mean something for us. And so we're looking at some of the programs that are offered next door at the middle school and here at the high school. We really have aligned ourselves within the secondary program. Mr. Howard and I speak on a regular basis when it is issues facing middle school and high school students. There's a lot of commonality there. Our buses, families, we're on a regular basis trying to norm ourselves. And so we're looking at the behaviors and how to address those in a meaningful way, how through that restorative practice and also our alternative learning environment, we'll get to that slide in just a moment, how important that is. I know Dr. Baer took a quick moment to talk about the difference between out-of-school suspension to working through that restorative mindset that we have here on this campus. And when families hear about students still being on campus, there might be a pushback because I think we need to go a little deeper in explanation of what that AL, an alternative learning environment, truly is and how we work through restorative practice within that program. But going back to climate and culture, as Mr. Alward said, it obviously is in our PowerPoint. When we're looking at the Lancer years, those are our upperclassmen mentoring their incoming freshmen. That's a brand new program this year. This is very important as we look to have a more seamless transition from the middle school to the high school. We know that's very difficult for many of our students. Obviously, restorative practices, you've heard about that, the PEC, IEC, the middle school and the high school. That is a K-12 program here on our campus. Unified Sports, which really was first seen on our campus last year. It was an amazing program. It's great to see all of our students involved with this. We're looking forward to the basketball season. It's going to start here in just a few days. Morning announcements is important. That's why I try to be on there as often as I can so we can really talk about that message of being part of that Newport family. And then, once again, climate and culture, Students of the Month, something we started this year. Each one of our academic department will select and nominate one of our 657 students in this building. I think that's important. It might not be a student that has 100 average. It is absolutely a student that I think reflects who we are as Lancers. I think that's important. The bulletin board down on the first floor, I see staff and students walk by that on a regular basis to see who was selected and why. There's always quotes. I also think it's important for us as members of the board family to get back to a much larger community. So that's why we have fundraising drives going on a regular basis inside our building, because we are part of a much larger community here in Lewiston Porter in Western New York. The Code of Conduct, that really is our roadmap for families. It's something that is approved by the Board of Education. The last update approved by the board was in September of 2021. And so when there's a behavior that happens inside the building, that is our roadmap. And families, you want us to follow that roadmap. It's something that's available for you. And so if there is an issue, please refer back to that. We are always referring to the Code of Conduct when we're talking to students and families as well. And that is really our guiding practice inside our buildings. I know I talked about that now, that's an alternative learning environment. That's when there's a behavior that warrants a suspension, which used to be an out-of-school suspension. As a school, we lost a lot of control over that student who was suspended at home. We lost control from a supervision standpoint, absolutely an instruction standpoint. So now we have our L room that's actually down in the district office. They are suspended to that location. It is staffed by a certified New York State teacher. Yes, they're getting their academics. That's important, so they're not falling behind. But they're also then have to work through a project based on the behavior that caused the harm. So we are learning and we are growing through that program. We also have counselors and social workers that every day is going down to work with the students that might be in that suspended status. So they're going to kind of serve their time. They're going to learn. They're going to grow. And the student's going to come back. Most likely there will be a restorative circle so we can right the harm that was caused. And we're also then checking with the students to make sure that their needs are being met. And that is important. And then they're welcome back to the Newport family. And so I think all of those things are important. And then they have numerous restorative circles that are going on throughout each one of the days that they need down there suspended. So they're getting their academics, not falling behind from an academic standpoint. And they're also learning from the harm that was caused really to the Newport family and those individual students. So it is vital for us as we continue to move through this restorative practice here on this campus.
So finally this evening, as we move to the next one, I think it's extremely important. This is probably one of my favorite quotes. People forget you, people forget how much you know, here's how much you know. We're here to talk to you this evening about that, to make sure that your voice is heard in the rest of the city as well.
Thank you all very much.
We do want our community to recognize that there are consequences for behavior. There's no question about that. When students make significant threats toward our schools and toward individuals in our school, we are going to do what we need to do to keep our schools safe. I don't want to underscore the importance of school safety. Yes, without a doubt, when things start at a small level, we want to offer those opportunities where harm can be repaired. But we know that there are some times when that may come in the future at some point. But there may need to be consequences before that happens. And so I do want our school community to know and recognize that when acts by some young people unfortunately raise themselves up to the most serious level, criminal level, we also take that very seriously as well. We are here to protect the young people in this school as well. And we'll do everything in our power to do so. I know that one of our finalists and police officers is here, Anthony Nicoletti. We have two police officers on our campus every day. They're here. Two of them are here through 9:15, and the one stays the full day and moves throughout our campus to make sure that our schools are safe for all of our students as well. And I think that's important to recognize. Yes, we are about restoration, but we are also know that there are sometimes needed consequences for behavior. And the administrative team, we are constantly working that line where that is drawn so that kids can grow, but still know that when behaviors are become more egregious, there may be consequences. So with that, I would very much like to hear from our audience. Before I do that though, I see so many African American brothers and sisters in the audience and Asian brothers and sisters in the audience. And I just want to thank you for being here tonight. And I want to thank you for your courage to be here tonight. And I want you to know how touched I am that members of our community and perhaps even members from our Niagara Falls community took it upon themselves to be here with us tonight and show support because we are here and open to all at all times. So thank you very much for being here. I truly appreciate it.